Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so very happy that you're joining me here in Texas today for a little chat about my yarn adventures. I have had a lot of fun since we last spoke. I have been casting on right and left. So what you're going to see today are 3 new cast-ons, 2 of which I finished already. As I just mentioned, I am back in Texas, enjoying that immensely. It's a hot one here in Texas today. It's 32 degrees Celsius, which is, I guess, just around 1,000,000 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. It's warm. I tried to turn off the AC while I'm recording because it is so noisy. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep it off throughout. But I am wearing a new finished object, very appropriate for this heat. This little crochet top is a free pattern. It's called the Chain Reaction Top, and it's a free pattern from the blog OTH Crochet Nook. I am gonna link the pattern in the description box below, along with everything else that I talk about. But I love this top. You can whip it up like in no time. You can use any yarn and make it in any size. It is so easy. Basically what you do is you chain until you reach the desired length, and then you work across your body until you reach your desired width, and then you repeat that. So you have these 2 squares that you then sew or crochet together on the shoulders and under the arms to get a very, very simple, airy little summer top. I often feel just a little bit too bare wearing only a tank top, but just this little one makes me feel that much more dressed, more pulled together, if you will. And yeah, it's wonderful to wear. I chose some drop spell for this, which is a cotton linen viscose blend. So it's a cool fabric, and it is so light and airy with these. These are just chains, and then you work double crochets here, and then chains and double crochets. So it is very, very, very simple and very quick. I mean, I'm not an expert crocheter for sure, but I whipped this up in no time. So I'm actually thinking I'm gonna need a white one too, and maybe also all of the colors that my swimsuits are in, because these would be great as a swimsuit cover as well. You could even make it into a dress. Oh, ideas. Yeah, but I am gonna link the blog with this pattern and all of her other free patterns. All of the patterns, as far as I can tell, they seem very, very simple, very easy to work out, and they just look so, so cool. Tomorrow, the weather is gonna cool down. I am hoping that it will, because then I can wear my other finished object again. Ooh, this one. I love this t-shirt. I have worn it already, also on some of the warmer days. You want to be below 30 degrees Celsius when wearing it, but it is actually really pleasant to wear, even on days that are just a little bit warmer, because it's very, very lightweight. These are fine, thin yarns that I knit up on a size 6, a 4mm needle. I used the pattern for my Texas tee just because it's this very simple raglan tee with, No funny business, just a simple raglan tee. Ito Yarns kindly reached out to me to ask if I wanted to try some of their yarns. And they sent me 6 cones of their different yarns, plus a bowl or a cake of their Ito Sensei silk mohair. And my first idea was to just go ahead and swatch with these yarns just to get a feel for them. How do they knit up and what's the fabric like? But then I thought, I don't want to waste all this beautiful yarn for swatches. So instead I did this. Yeah, the black and white stripes are knit in 2 very different yarns. These are all kinds of different yarns, different weights, different fiber content, but they just work together really well. And I've had a lot of fun combining them in different ways. But let's just go through them and we'll talk about how to have fun with yarns like that. So this one is there, and now I'm looking at my computer just so I don't make any mistakes. This is their Rakuda, which is wool and camel. And camel is probably one of my favorite fibers because it is so warm and it is just the right amount of fluffy. And it is very, very lightweight. It is so lightweight. But when I say just the right amount of fluffy, if I hold it up here, you can see that there is definitely some fluff to it that will be even more prominent once it's knit up. But I would argue that you could still use this yarn for intricate lace patterns or even for cables, things that you usually wouldn't use a fluffy yarn for. But this has sufficient integrity that you can actually still see the stitch definition. And the black stripe is a very interesting yarn. This is their Urugami, which is wool and paper. So you can see here, it's a tightly spun yarn. And first when I was knitting with it, I was like, this is probably the kind of yarn that I would prefer using for a tote bag or a small purse, a clutch, something like that, where you, maybe even a basket or something where you want this integrity and this firmness to the material. But then as I blocked it, it is so beautiful and it is alive. It is very, very comfortable. I would not hesitate to make a top in this yarn with the paper content. I'd probably go for something like a top with some eyelets or a symbol lace pattern, because it does have really good stitch definition. And after blocking, it's really pleasant to wear. So the black and white stripes are those 2 yarns. The Urugami I held double throughout. It's a rather fine yarn, whereas the Rakuda, that's a single, a fingering weight basically. So I held that single, and they had all the chances to bloom because I was working on such a large needle. And they did. They bloomed. They filled in beautifully. I used another yarn for the ribbing, both on the neckline, the sleeves, and the body. For the neckline, I used the Kosho, which is a DK weight woolen spun yarn. And let me just see, let's just see the fiber content. Yeah, that's the one, yeah. 90% wool, 10% cashmere. Which means that because it's woolen spun, You get a really airy and very, very, very soft yarn. I don't think this is going to peel as much as you'd usually expect for a cashmere yarn because it is only 10% and it is, again, a woolen spun. It has this very airy feel to it. I'd knit a sweater in this, a big sweater, because it really carries itself very, very well. Usually I'm maybe not the biggest fan of cashmere because I think they're often too sleek and too heavy, too drapey and too pilly. Not that I don't mind the pilling too much, I'll just depill. But this one, I definitely make an oversized sweater in this because it does have just a little bit of grip. So it will carry itself beautifully. And because, again, of the woolen spun, it's going to be light. Even though you use a lot of yarn, it's still going to be super light and nice to wear. I did not plan for, I planned for the black and white stripes, and I was engaging in a game of yarn chicken because was there going to be enough? And there was, but as you can see, where's the cone of the white? It's not that I could have done another stripe. I used up basically everything of the white, but that turned out beautifully. I did not plan for the stripes between the black and white to be one grayish, one brownish, or mauve colored, if you will. That just happened on the first 3 stripes, and then I started planning for it because I thought that looked just awesome. I was playing with the yarns. I was playing with these 3 yarns plus the Ito Sensei, the silk mohair. I used the silk mohair in 2 different colorways. I used a leftover ball I had of the goat colorway, and then I used the smoke gray that I was gifted to try. Let's see if we can get it to focus. So obviously these 2 helped a lot to make these grayish and brownish stripes. And then I played with these 3 fine yarns, really thin yarns. So the first one is the Asa, and it is linen, cotton, and silk. So basically your perfect summer yarn. It is very, very, very fine yarn, as you can see. I held it either double with itself. I did that in this section down here, or I held it with the Ito Sensei to get this marled and softer, more cozy look, because this is for your summer tea. It has great stitch definition. It is, of course, a pleasure to wear with the linen and the cotton. I'm not necessarily a fan of 100% cotton, but you throw in some linen and it has this cooling effect on the body. It is so pleasurable to wear, just like the drop spell that I'm wearing here. Only this is a much more luxurious feeling to knit with this. Another yarn that I played with is the Kosho, which is the same as the Sokosho. No, this is the Sokosho. The Kosho is the one that I used for the ribbings. This is the same yarn, only in a fingering weight. And the last yarn that I played with in the stripes is this one. It is the Washi, another paper yarn, this time 54% paper and then 46% viscose. And this also a perfect yarn for summer garments. Obviously the paper yarns are beautiful for everything, accessories or interior, but these soften up so much I wouldn't hesitate to use them for garments as well. And again, a very, very fine thread, as you can see. And something I realized working with these yarns, because I was just playing around. I hadn't planned for a t-shirt. I hadn't chosen yarn for a t-shirt. I received some yarns and I just started playing. And I realized working with these fine yarns, really thin threads, it's like having a box of crayons. You can create anything you like. Obviously, color-wise, you can create anything when you combine threads. You can take a bright color and mute it, or you can tone it over into a more pastel-y nuance. You can mix and match and maul and just go crazy with all of the colors. And I will say, when I was looking through these yarns on the Ito website, it does seem that the color palette is somewhat similar for the yarns. So you'd, in many cases, be able to just get the same colorway in different yarns, which means that you can also build your own yarn. I've never thought about that before. When I buy yarn, there are certain yarns that I would prefer to avoid, like 100% cotton. It's really hard on the hands, I think, and also it tends to get heavy, and it's like it sucks up moisture and just gets heavy and just grows out of control. But here you can combine, so you can, maybe you can take this cotton linen silk blend and say, you know what, my hands just need a little more bounce and elasticity. And so you can add in some wool and cashmere or some wool and camel just to get that extra bounciness. Also, it could be that you, like I talked about, the paper yarns, that they're just a bit too stringy for you. Well, combine it with the silk mohair. It softens up beautifully. And I have talked about the Ito Sensai before. This is so soft. This is not your regular silk mohair. The silk content is much bigger than what you're used to. So it is so soft. But you could also build a more woolly yarn where maybe you want some silk, which you will see later. I am using a wool silk blend from Ito Sensai in one of my projects, but you're afraid that the silk will give too much drape to the project you're working on. So you'll again throw in maybe the camel. There are so many opportunities. I mean, we have seen over and over again combining a fingering weight woolen yarn with a silk mohair, but you can mix and match fibers in so many ways. And some yarns also start combining making these surprising combinations like alpaca and cotton. What? But it works. It just works. And it is a lot of fun to be able to build your own yarn, your own fiber combination. And to create something like this, this just makes me so happy. I really feel at home when I wear this because it's all of my colors, obviously. It is oversized, so there's movement around my body even on a warmer day, and it is very, very lightweight. So I'm sure that everyone has their favorite basic patterns, like a round yoke and a raglan, that you know that this pattern is just good for your body. It fits you. You know what modifications to make. That's how I feel about my Texas tee. It's just so simple. So to me, the Texas tee and the scrappy strip, actually, they're like blank canvases where I can just go crazy and do whatever I like. And yeah, I definitely did here combining all of the colors and the fibers. I want to show you a section of the paper yarn where I just held it double. So that would be this section here. That's the paper yarn, the washi. And then I dropped one of the threads of the washi and substituted in a thread of silk mohair. See how much it changes? Oh, I wish you could feel it. But even this with the yarn held double, of course it's not soft. It's not cashmere, but it definitely feels pleasant. And it feels very light and airy. I think a summer t-shirt in one of these paper yarns, especially probably the washi I would use for a summer tee. That would be beautiful. Yeah, I also, sometimes I would just hold 2 strands of silk mohair, maybe in the 2 different colors, and yeah, I just played around. I just had so much fun. In the beginning, I was writing down everything I was doing because I thought, oh, I want to be able to tell you what I did, which yarns I held together when. But I couldn't. It was so much fun. I apologize for not taking notes. I could probably go back and look at the stripes, but I was just enjoying myself so much. I felt like an artist painting with texture and with color, and it was such a good time. So thank you so much to Ito Yarns for giving me the chance to play artist and knit a summer tee with these 6 different cones and then some Ito Sensai. That was a lot of fun. And I'm so happy that I went ahead and tried to knit the t-shirt, even though I had no idea if I would have enough yardage, rather than just knitting a bunch of swatches. Now I really feel that I know these yarns. And yeah, I have another Ito project. I have it in my new project bag. Now, if you were watching my Vlogmas videos, maybe you saw that on Christmas Eve, the Nisse gave me a surprising gift. The Nisse had made sure that this bag was being held at the McKinney Knittery for me. I saw it when I was here in October. I fell head over heels for it, but I decided, no, it's too expensive. Stop doing that. You don't need another project bag. So I left it. And I regretted leaving it. So on the last day I was here, I tried to go up there again. It was sold out. But then it came back into stock and Ginger was kind enough to hold it for me. And yeah, I did go to the knittery on Monday, meeting up with some of my wonderful, wonderful Texas ladies. We have such a good time whenever we meet up. I got my beautiful project bag. It is so cool. Just look, I can like zip it here so that it becomes like a closed bag. I can wear it as a backpack, I can wear it over my shoulder, or I can wear it just in my hand, and I can wear it in 1,000 ways, and it holds a lot. I think she still has one more, and she does ship, I'm just saying, McKinney Knittery. Inside the bag are my smaller project bags with my new projects. This one I had already cast on before the knit-a-thon, so if you joined us for the knit-a-thon, you will have seen this before. It is my Christmas Day cast on, my CDCO 23, and I am knitting it in some Ito Shimo. That was also gifted to me. The Shimo is a beautiful garn. yarn. It's a wool and silk blend. So you get all the bounce and the grip and the structure from the wool, but then you get the depth and the somehow silk fibers just makes yarn seem alive, like they're glowing from the inside. Even in a neutral like this, the gray just gets this glow. Plus the silk also makes it really durable, which is never a bad thing. So I have finished the neckline. I have almost finished the short rows. You can see this is the back and here we have the front. I've started doing the increases and you can see here is where the sleeves are going to be. So this is ribbing where the rest is stockinette stitch. In the pattern, it calls for twisted rib or a half twisted rib, like you twist the knit stitches. No one wants to twist the pearls, right? But I decided that I wanted to try just a regular 1x1 rib. I've been doing a lot of twisted ribbing these past months and it looks pretty. It looks very crisp and very, there's just something to the twisted ribbing, which is why I use it in many of my patterns. But it doesn't have the same stretch, or it does stretch, but it doesn't pull together as well as a regular 1x1 ribbing. So I decided to try to go ahead and work this one with just a regular 1x1 ribbing. My thought is to make it short sleeved, just like the red that I made in some holes super soft. And then come fall, I can always pick out the bind off and continue the sleeves to make it long sleeved for fall. This yarn is obviously a much thinner yarn than the one that the pattern was written for. It's written for a sport weight, but you can get gauge, I will say, with heavy fingering to a DK. This one is a bit finer. Here we have 266 meters to 50 grams. So this is a very fine fingering weight, much like the Holst Super Soft. Actually, I am knitting it up to the same gauge. I'm using needle size 3.5 millimeters, which must be a 4. Yeah, US 4. And I'm getting this beautifully airy fabric. It's light and airy. It's in no way dense, but it still has the structure. Come on. And it has a texture that I really like. So I'm doing that. And I have said this so many times, I will often substitute in a yarn with a completely different gauge than the one in any pattern, really. And what I'll do is I will knit a swatch, figure out how many stitches do I have for 10 centimeters, how wide do I want it over the bust, do the math to figure out how many stitches would I like to have for the bust, and then just go into the pattern and find the size that has the right amount of stitches. Of course, I wouldn't recommend, I am sorry, my words are not treating me well today. I wouldn't recommend this method to someone who is knitting their first sweater or even their second or their third. You'd want to have a couple of sweaters under your belt before you do that, because you do have to pay attention. There might be some patterning or a rate of increases that makes the integrity of the sweater just disintegrate when you do this. I'm talking about technically this could happen. I've never experienced it myself, but technically there could be a problem. Like if you had, let's say you had a color work section that you needed to end at the sleeve separation, then maybe you could get into trouble, but I'd just continue it after the separation. Anyway, it's what I did. I went up 2 sizes. I am gonna knit this one a little bit smaller than the red one. The red one that I made, if you remember, is quite oversized. So I want this to be not with 0 ease, but maybe only 5 centimeters instead of the 10 or 20 that I usually knit with. Just because I thought that would look nice for summer and also as a layering piece later in the fall. But yeah, really enjoying that one. And now it's at the point where I don't have to pay so much attention because the Christmas Day cast on is written for with a compound raglan. You do have to pay a little more attention than if you're just working a regular raglan. Obviously, you have to check where you're at in the pattern. But for now, I can just use that one to sit in it while I carry on a conversation and actually pay attention to the person that I'm talking with, which is always a good thing, I find. The same goes for my cat number 5, the sweater that I designed for our knit-a-thon. It is now, I'm on Sleeve Island. No, not Sleeve Island. I love this. I am knitting the sleeves, and the sleeves are my favorite part because it's just around and around. I don't have to think much. I'm basically eyeballing where I want they're supposed to be with, for this size, 5 centimeters intervals, and it's almost 5 centimeters. Then I'll measure from time to time. But yeah, I finished the body. It needs a good blocking for sure. And maybe you can tell that this has quite a lot of positive ease. I wanted something really cozy because what I'm envisioning as I'm knitting this, that's a summer night hanging out in the garden in either Denmark or Italy. And it's too cold to be out. But it's the season and we want to be outside. So maybe we build a small fire and I pull this over my t-shirt and my jean shorts and I just cozy up in it and I am warm and I'm comfortable, and yeah, that's what goes on in my mind as I am knitting. I'm constantly thinking about how am I going to wear this? Who am I going to be when I wear this? And when I wear this one, I'm going to be this very happy summer woman who just enjoys hanging out in the garden way too late at night where it's just a little bit too cold. But then you just cozy up with sweaters and blankets. Yeah. So I am really enjoying knitting on this. I love the color work. As I was starting on the color work during the knit-a-thon, I was like, uh-oh, there's not going to be enough contrast here. But now looking at it, there's just the amount of contrast that I like. Just enough that it is obvious what is in the pattern, but not so much that it like jumps out at you. It melts and I really like it. Yeah. So there's a few steps to do before this is ready to be released. My testers flew through it. They just and done, and they have amazing sweaters. That 1 or 2 of them made lighter versions, like very light colored main color, and then some pastel-y tones for the color work. That was beautiful. Maybe I need one of those. Yep. But I need to finish this, obviously my sample. I also wanna just finish the yoke portion of another size, just to make sure that everything is as I want it to be, because there were some changes to the construction in the testing phase. So I want to just make sure that everything is all right. also need to, of course, take some pictures. I need to translate the pattern into English, have that proofwritten. So there are still some steps to be taken, but it is going to be coming out soon-ish. And yeah, right now I am just enjoying this. And this one actually made me appreciate the concept of aircon. Sitting in this boiling heat with a lap full of a heavy wool sweater, but you have aircon, you're good. The last project that I'm going to show you is another new cast on, and it is part of a new Knitalong that I am running. It is inside the big project bag from the McKinney Knittery, in a smaller project bag from the McKinney Knittery. And it is, of course, my perfect little cardigan. During the knit-a-thon on Sunday, I was wearing my newest version, my third version of that pattern, which was a bright red color. And a lot of people were like, oh, I want to knit that too. And we decided to do a knit-along for it. It's a very simple, informal knit-along. All you have to do is cast on, have fun, post your progress or lack thereof on Instagram using the hashtag PLCKAL, perfect little cardigan knit along. On June 1st, I'm going to draw a winner. I'm going to put together a nice prize package and find a winner. You don't have to finish. You don't have to a lot of things. You just have to have fun. People have asked me, can I enter with a PLC that's already on my needles? Of course you can. You're knitting it and you're knitting it together with us. You're good. Can I make modifications? You have at it. You make all the modifications in the world. That's what knitting patterns are for. They're for us to make modifications, obviously. We want something that is a pleasure for us to knit and a pleasure for us to wear. Something that makes us feel comfortable in our own skin, and something that just complements our bodies and our lives. So go ahead, make all the modifications in the world. As long as you post on Instagram with the hashtag PLCKAL, you are entered to win the prize. But yeah, I have three perfect little cardigans. I have the original one, which was knit in a yak and silk blend, which, by the way, A Knitter's World offers 25% discount on the original yarn. I think it's only through the weekend, so you should probably, if you want it, go grab it right away. I will link the yarn in the description box below. It's a beautiful yarn. Yak and silk is a luxurious blend. You're going to need the code PLCKAL. That same code is also going to give you 20% discount on the pattern, and the code is valid on Ravelry and in my own web shop. Also going to link the patterns there. But yeah, I have one that is in the original yarn, which is an undyed yak and silk, so it's a brownish, cool toned brown. Then I have a light gray that I knit in November and December in this rough, untreated wool from Garnspecialisten. And then I have the bright red in whole super soft, two threads of that held double. So I was contemplating doing a black, because who doesn't need a black cardigan? But I saw this. This is the perfect green. I mean, this is my green. It is cool toned. It doesn't have too much yellow. It's a very interesting color because it's dyed on on a heathered yarn. It's just so beautiful. It's the Rerum Natura Ulysses in the colorway Way Printemps. I found it up at the McKinney Knittery where we were meeting up for a cast-on party. But she only had one bowl. One bowl is not enough for a cardigan. I'm just saying. And I mean, the McKinney Knittery, there's a lot of yarn up there. That is like, it's yarn heaven. Just yarn heaven. Ginger just does an amazing job of curating these, yeah, to die for yarns. And I actually had found 2 green yarns that I was, they're beautiful. One was by La Bien-Aimée, and the other one was by the Plucky Knitter. And both of them were like, I like this green. Ooh, which one am I going to go with? But then I saw this. And once I saw this, I couldn't unsee it. I mean, I just couldn't let it go. And actually, it was Ginger's idea. She said to me, you know what? You're going to be able to get this yarn at home. It's a French yarn. You can get it. So what I did is I went online and ordered this yarn. And then I bought the one bowl that was available at the Knittery just so that I could cast on. And I know that the bowls that I'm going to receive are not going to be the same dye lot. I'm not too concerned because with a commercially dyed yarn, typically there's not that much of a difference. I would think I could just helical knit this one in. If not, I'm just going to use this for the ribbings, the edges. Then you're not going to see that it's just a little bit different. I had to cast on, so I did. And I made a mess. Yarn barf that I didn't care to fix, and a very, very, very long cord. But I like knitting my cardigans on very long cords because it makes it so easy to try it on. I mean, now I could have done a shorter cable, but very soon it's gonna grow a lot, and it's just easier when you can try it on continuously. On the perfect little cardigan, you're doing short rows all the way down the body to keep the front panel from dropping down, because you work this section of ribbing together with the main body, and if you don't do anything about it, it's just going to be a little bit longer than the stockinette stitch section. So you're doing some short rows. And it's nice to be able to try the cardigan on just to see, do I need more short rows? Do I need less? Because it also depends on the yarn. This is a quite a rustic yarn. It just says that it's 100% wool. It doesn't specify the fiber, but it's rustic. You see it, when I do like this, it like retains its shape. So it's a relatively rustic wool, which means that it's not gonna drape as much, it's not gonna grow as much as if I was using a softer wool. So it's nice to be able to try it on. But yeah, I haven't done much on it. I just wanted to cast on together with the other people. And then, yeah, I'm probably gonna hang out. Now I'm going to finish the neckline ribbing, and then I'm going to wait until I have the rest of the yarn so that I can see how much of a difference is there between the dye lots. What do I have to do to make this work? It's going to work for sure. And it's beautiful. I can't believe it. All the colors. But somehow it does make sense to knit some cardigans with loads of colors when all of your clothes are black, white, gray, or denim. Has some brownish, earthy tones here and there, but seriously, I could bring in whatever bright color I like, and it's just gonna mix in effortlessly with the rest of my wardrobe. So there. I am surprising myself, but it makes me very, very happy to be knitting with this super bright green. Yeah, so that was it for the creative content. I did not touch my crochet dress. I wanted to, but that just requires that I pay a lot more attention that I want to be paying to my knits or my crochet projects. When I'm here, I want to be paying attention to the people that I'm visiting. Oh, my son, my daughter-in-law, and my two little grandchildren. We are having a lot of fun over here. We arrived the day after the eclipse. Just the day after. And the day of the eclipse was a really important day because it was also John John's birthday. We always have to balance these birthdays because we have a granddaughter in Denmark. Her birthday is right next to John's. So we have to take turns and figure things out. But we arrived over here the day after the eclipse, and then the first Sunday, all of John's friends were invited for a birthday party. We had such a great time. It was so much fun. We've been hanging out by the pool, and over in the park. They have this splash zone for the kids. So yeah, we spent some hours there. I can get some knitting done. I could get some knitting done. I should start a sock or something easy, portable. I should start a sock. And I even have the yarn for it. Let me just, hang on. I've got yarn. Of course I've got yarn. I had forgotten about this. I brought this and I bought it originally because I wanted to use it for some color work. But you know what? This is sock yarn. Just look at this color. Isn't it beautiful? Now, with white jeans and my white sneakers, and then a sock, and it's happening. It's happening within the next 5 minutes because I've got my needles right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and wind this up and get some socks going. It is from the Danish hand dyer by Knitalong. It's her Silje base, which is a sock base at 75-25. The colorway is called Spirende Forår, Budding Spring, I guess. And it's just beautiful. Ooh. Yeah. That's going to be great to have for just sitting in the car and for bringing to the playground, to the pool, to the splash zone. I could just work a few rounds just every now and then. That would be fun. That's definitely happening. But yeah, days are passing by in a blur of happiness and magic and wonder. And it is just, yeah, we're just having such a good time. I am reading a little bit in the morning. I tried to continue some of the books that I had going, but I needed something light, easy, funny. So I started reading the Double Knit Murders by Maggie Sefton. Can you even see it here? I'm not sure that you can see it. And it's also not the most interesting cover, I have to say. But Double Knit Murders by Maggie Sefton, it's a whole knitting murder series. So you have this murder mystery set in the context of a cute local yarn store where people just sit and knit their hearts out. It is so cozy. I am enjoying this a lot. I bought the first 2 books on Amazon and I can see myself, yeah, reading through the entire series. Probably not just in one stretch, because I would imagine it's the kind of book that you, well, now I've had my fill, like with chocolate, I've had my fill. Let me wait for half an hour and I can go at it again, something like that. But yeah, I really recommend it if you are in for a unassuming, funny little read that will just keep you entertained and give you a good time. So that was it for this week. I better wrap things up now. I need to cast on a sock and we all need to get going. We have an appointment for lunch, so I will let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Until we talk again next week, keep knitting.